Hello and welcome to the latest edition of Boston Founders Tales. Delighted to be joined today by Jack Porter, who is the co-founder of BirdDog. Welcome, Jack. Would you like to give everybody a quick intro to yourself and your company?
Thanks, Chris, for having me. I'm excited to talk today. Quick intro, co-founded BirdDog. It's a sales technology company in 2024.
Yep. And in terms of setting up the business, what was the problem or the idea that kind of first sparked the concept?
Yeah, so it's actually nothing related. And I think many founders relate to this. Is the original idea for BirdDog was an investing platform. And we wanted to find news before it hit the Wall Street Journal and help traders, help investors, help normal people find great investments. Cool idea. Didn't work at all. And so we couldn't even sell it to people for $1 a month. And right as we were about to shut that business down, 2 sales guys came to us and they're like, hey guys, we aren't using this for investing. We're using this for sales research. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, who are you? What's an account executive? Like, what's an SDR? And long story short, 2.5 years later, now we are.
Yeah, and I know the business has started to get a lot of traction, which is great to see. So when you reflect, are there any early bets or sacrifices that you guys do that have proven pivotal to being where you are today?
Yeah, I think we'd spent a lot of time working on the data quality. That's the one thing we heard from a lot of the big competitors, right? There's a lot of old companies in the space that basically try to tell you like ready to buy your product, right? So if you sell like a marketing solution, they'll try to figure that out. And then one complaint we heard from essentially every sales rep we talked to is like data was terrible. And so we spent probably 6 months with no revenue, no product, and just a data pipeline, just testing, putting it into an Excel sheet, looking at the data saying, hey, is this good? Is this useful? Is this not? And just tweaking over and over again until we felt like we had something that was actually and good to put out to market.
Yep, brilliant. And in terms of your product now, how does the MVP look today versus when you guys first kicked it out?
Chris, it looks like we drew it with a crayon. It looks terrible. I was actually looking at photos of the old MVP, and it was like these bright blue boxes with like stars and buttons all over it. It was crazy. It was terrible. I'm not a UI designer. I should not be putting the power of putting a UI together, but it takes a lot of iteration. I think we're on iteration number 6 of the UI, and it just comes from a lot of feedback, right? That's how we really developed it. Like, we had no idea the first version. I thought it was great. I thought it was awesome. And then you get told it's not, and then you make a change, and now a year or so later, it's a lot better.
Yep. And from investing that time in the data sets and trying to close as possible, what were some of the obstacles that you guys faced in the earlier days of the business?
Lost 50% of our revenue in the span of a week. That was pretty bad.
Yeah.
It was right after we had launched the MVP that was very ugly. We gained some traction. Like, we had a viral post on LinkedIn. We had landed some customers. Like, we felt like we were good. Like, we were growing, Chris. Like, we're doing good. And what we didn't understand is anything about user activation, retention, onboarding. And so we just essentially threw all these people at our platform with no guidance, no support, no help, and just said, have fun. And you guess what happens, right? All of them left because none of them understood how to use it, what to do. And obviously in hindsight, it's like easiest mistake to understand. I remember getting that first cancellation email and it was like, oh, that sucks. And then not even 2 hours later, got another one. And then the next day, got another one. And then got another one. And then another one. And by the end of the week, Noah and I are sitting there and we're like, what just happened? Right. And then that's when we went through like serious reflection of our process, the product we delivered. That was the first kind of kickoff of like, hey, maybe this product isn't so great. Like, the UI needs to be overhauled and figure out our onboarding and all that. And so then that led us basically on a 3-month process of settling down, taking less calls, just working on the product. And then once we figured that out, then it really took off.
Yep. And what out of interest, related to what you were talking about there, what do you guys do now in terms of, somebody's on the platform trying to ensure they adopt it properly, etc.? The kind of process on that side of things nowadays compared to have fun.
Hopefully a lot better. We go through the biggest challenge in sales technology is proving ROI, right? People want to know you're booking on meetings, you're making them money, they're getting essentially a positive return on whatever they spent with you. And so that's become our real big focus because almost no tool does it. They do it at a stretch, right? Like a lot of our big competitors will stretch the definition of like attribution and ROI to make it look better than it is. And so for us, what's nice is we can actually go out and say, hey, here are the accounts we recommended, right? Here's why we recommended them. Here was the details on them that made them really cool. And then we can actually look at what happened to those accounts. Did they not close? If so, what did they close for compared to your average? And we can actually do a monthly report that goes out to every kind of decision maker that buys our solution. And says, like, here's the increase on your average contract for our value. Here's the increase in your close rate, and here's the increase in the time that it took. So your time decreases usually a lot, your close rate goes up, your deal size goes up. And so that's how we do our onboarding now, and our retention is like a couple dedicated calls to get kicked off, and then just focus heavily on ROI, right? Just proving that this is a great decision month after month.
Yep. I like that. That's, as a sales guy, that sounds good to me. Did you guys convince your first customer to believe in the vision that you had for the business and the product?
I don't know how we convinced. It's a guy named Finn. He was working on a startup in the UK, and I still remember when he agreed to it because we were selling for like, I don't even know if it was $100 a month. It was like very low number for how much work we put in because I scraped his entire CRM by hand, finding URLs. We were like, okay, this was the early days. Like we were really searching for our first dollar. And he had a big problem, and this is kind of when we were onto something, is I think it was 3,000 or 4,000 retailers in Europe and the US that he didn't know anything about. And we're like, okay, let's start there. Like, let's clean this list of 3,000 companies, and we'll find you the ones that are investing in new marketing campaigns, are working on influencer marketing, are working on retention strategies, are working on attribution, because that's kind of what his service was helping them out with. And he was able to pull out like from executives and marketing leaders saying like, we're working on your exact problem. And he's like, this is great. This is awesome. And so that's how we convinced him, but I don't know how we did it because we had like product, everything barely worked. I was really bad.
Well, it sounds like you did it through a lot of hard graft and will and commitment to him as a potential customer, right? So you demonstrated that we're going to get shit done attitude,
You have to. I don't know how else you do it in the early days. Like, you can't make a perfect product.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love that. Cool. And then talked to you previously. I know that guys got rejected a lot by VCs that you approached. So, when you reflect now, how do you feel that's kind of shaped Dog in terms of where you guys are at today and what the journey's been so far?
Yeah, I think Noah put out a good post, and it was like, I think we've been rejected by 13 or 14 VCs in a row. It was almost all in a row. Like we had a bunch of calls trying to figure it out. Because when we started back in the summer of 2024, we thought we needed to raise. We thought it was like must have, like I don't know how you build a business without it. We couldn't see any other path. And when we got rejected, I think it was from YC for the first time, we were like, okay, like, well, maybe we have to like get started. Like this is a waste of time. Like have an idea. We know it, people kind of want it. So let's just see if we can build it. And so Noah and I each wired in $1,500. So we put in $3,000 and that was it. That's the only money we've ever put into the business. That's how we've started the whole thing. Everything else has come from customers. And as we just kept getting rejected more and more by VCs, we were continuing to grow the business at the time. We've gotten customers, we had gotten retention, like business was profitable. And so we're like, wait, do we even need any of these people? Like, why are we doing this? Like, Noah and I could both take salaries off of it. We're like, what are we doing here? And so at some point, it just reached a tipping point where all of a sudden we're like, wait, we don't need any money. And now we can go work on the business and grow it and continue to move along. But it really did feel like we got punched in the beginning. Like it felt like, oh my gosh, like we got told like one VC was like, you guys are idiots. Like this is a terrible business. Like it's never going to work. Like it was kind of gut wrenching to go through that process. But ultimately, like the best outcome from that was we ended up bootstrapping. And now we both have not sold any part of the business, right? So we have full ownership, we have full control, which I think is one of the most underrated things from a VC angle is not that the money is great and the raise is great and the announcement, all that cool stuff. But the biggest change that like all of my VC friends have now said is like, you lose control, right? You have someone breathing down your back, you have growth goals, you have targets, you have pressure. And now if Noah and I want to like slow the business down, speed it up, we can. And that's really what we've been doing. We've been slowing it down intentionally, right? Not hiring, not bringing on more people, because we think we can get to a product that's so dialed and so out of market and then push. And that's really why we're doing it the way we do. Because most companies at our stage would have 50 employees now. But for us, that's not where we're at. That's not where we want to take it. So doing it a little bit differently and bootstrapping has allowed that.
Yeah, it's good to show it's not the be all and end all. And then that, as you said, that direction of travel for you guys forward is just completely down to the two of you. You know, as you said, if you want to slow things down, you know, iterate so that you can go fast off the back of that. That's something you could do, and you know, vice versa. As you said, if you just want to slow down full time and concentrate on another project or something, again, you know, it's something within your control. So that flexibility, you know, I think you've earned the right to have that flexibility. Although at the time you probably felt it was the end of the world.
Yeah, it did feel like the end of the world. It felt terrible.
Yeah, brilliant. So staying on reflections then, if you could send a message back to yourself on day one of setting up the company, what would that message be?
I think it would be focused more on a few customers going deeply.
Okay.
And so what we got distracted on early on that probably cost us 6 months was speed to scale, right? Because we were in this VC mindset. We're trying to raise, we're trying to prove ourselves. We're trying to say we can grow a big business quickly. And so what we did, instead of working on the product deeply with a few people, say like, hey, let's nail your problem specifically, we're going to take like 50 clients on at once onto this really crappy product, right? Didn't really work. And what happened was we spent more time fixing UI issues, onboarding people, managing customer support than actually working on the product. And as a team of two, it cost us a lot of focus and a lot of time. So that's why we had to slow it down. We basically shut off our demos for a while and we just worked on the product. And that was the biggest mistake I think we made in the first kind of year of our business. That probably set us back, 6 to 8 months.
Yeah, just ended up spreading yourselves too thinly across too many. That makes complete sense. And then over the last couple of years, what's the best piece of advice you've received being a founder that you'd kind of share with others?
The best piece of advice actually didn't even come from a founder. It came from one of our, I don't know if you call him like a mentor. He's a guy Noah and I met in the early days when we were starting this. He's a guy from Michigan. And the way we actually figured out the idea for BirdDog is we cold emailed everyone in sales who went to the University of Michigan and said, hey, will you hop on a call with us and tell us about your industry? We know nothing about it. And so we had 200 of those calls, and this guy was one of them. And we've kept in touch with him, and we were at dinner maybe a month ago with him. And he said, in business and in life, you're gonna have a lot of options, a lot of things you can go after. And he gave this cool example of him in college, and this professor did something where there was these colored chips. Right? And he lays them all out on the table. And there's white chips, and there's red chips, and there's blue chips. And there's a bunch of white chips, and there's a couple red chips, and there's a handful of blue chips. Right? And the red and the blue are kind of towards the center of the table, and the white are closer to the people. And basically what the professor says is, in 30 seconds, collect as many as possible. Go. And so what everyone does every single time is they just start scooping all these white chips into the bag, right? They're right in front of them, just grab. At 30 seconds, he presses stop. He goes, okay, the white chips are worth 1, the red chips are worth 50, and the blue chips are worth 1,000. Who won? And so for us, that was one of our big lessons is how do we focus not on the white chips, right? All these things that are in front of us that we can just grab and do, and all these trivial tasks, which do matter sometimes, but how can we focus on the red and blue chips to actually leverage our time, make every moment worth it? Because what we've learned over the last 2 years, if anything, it's really only a handful of changes you make that actually pivot the business dramatically. But there's a few really great decisions that founders make that explode the business, that increase retention, that increase the value of the company. And that's it. And you just got to figure out what those decisions are and then try to keep afloat on every single other kind of white and red chip.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks for sharing that. That's some great advice there. And then one final question for you, Jack. From a personal perspective, how do you stay sane when it comes to riding the inevitable highs and lows of building out your own startup?
Loosely. I think it's underrated how difficult it is, because it really does feel like one day you're up, the next day you're down, right? And it varies. Like, you think you've solved it one day, you think you're on the moon, you've grown 50% last month. Like, I remember in the fall, like, we're growing 50% a month, and you could still feel like you've lost it if, like, a customer you really like churned. And that was a really hard thing for me to understand and grapple with, is like, there's always highs and lows, and like you're gonna have them no matter how much the business is crushing it. Like, your just threshold for feeling great goes up, and your threshold for feeling bad goes up, and then all of a sudden you're always just feeling good and bad. So honestly, just staying sane, like working out, finding a hobby outside of, you know, the business, not working every single hour of the day, like go touch grass occasionally.
Yeah.
But it's just inevitable. Like, you're going to ride the highs and the lows no matter what you do. It's just about not letting it get to you.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, yeah, great advice to finish on. And listen, thanks so much for joining today, Jack. Really enjoyed talking to you again. I love the BirdDog story, the fact it's just yourself and Noah, and you guys have managed to create a great business, just the two of you, and you're getting good traction in the market. Love to see that. So best of luck moving forward. Look forward to seeing you guys continue to go from strength to strength.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate the kind words.
All right. Cheers, Jack. Take care.